I was 8 months pregnant when I found out about my own baby shower. Not from my mom, not from my sister, not from a sweet card or a surprise email, but from a tagged photo on Facebook. It was a picture of my cousin Chelsea, beaming as she held up a gift bag that read, "For the little one," surrounded by pink and gold balloons, a diaper cake, and a big, glittery sign on the wall that said, "Welcome, baby Ava," my daughter's name, the one I hadn't even announced to anyone yet, except apparently the people who threw the party without me. At first I thought it was a mistake. Maybe someone else in the family was pregnant. Maybe it was a weird coincidence. But the caption said, "Such a beautiful day celebrating my niece Ava. We love you already. My niece. My daughter." And there, in the background, my mother, smiling next to a big pink table of cupcakes, stared at the screen for a full minute. Frozen. I checked the date. It had been posted 2 days ago. And I hadn't received a single call. No text. No invitation. Nothing. My heart dropped into my stomach like a rock. I called my sister, Erin. She picked up like nothing was wrong. "Hey, what's up?" I didn't waste time. "Did you guys have a baby shower for me? Without me?" There was a pause, then an awkward, stuttering laugh. "Oh my God, no! It wasn't really like that. It was kind of last minute. Just a little thing. You know, mostly for Mom's friends and some of Chelsea's co-workers." My daughter's name was on the wall. "Well, yeah. But we weren't sure if you wanted something big, and we didn't want to stress you out." "You didn't think inviting me would be a good idea?" Another pause. Then in a voice that sounded rehearsed, "We just thought you needed rest. And honestly, with how distant you've been lately, we didn't want to put pressure on you." Distant? Let me tell you something. I'd been desperate for support the last few months. My husband and I moved across the state for his job, and I'd been trying to keep up with doctor's appointments, budget for the baby, and deal with the stress of late pregnancy alone. My mom barely called. My sister texted twice in 3 months, and every time I reached out it felt like I was being a burden. But I never once imagined they'd plan something like this behind my back. A party for my child. Without me. I hung up without saying another word. An hour later my mom called. "Honey, don't blow this out of proportion. It was a little brunch, that's all. With my daughter's name on the banner. Well, it was more for the community, really. People wanted to give gifts. You know how these things go. And no one thought it might be insulting to do that without the mother there?" She sighed. "Sweetheart, you've always been sensitive. We didn't think you'd want to travel in your condition. We were trying to help." I felt something crack inside me. A wall I didn't know I'd built. I said quietly, "You didn't forget. You left me out." She said nothing, and I ended the call. I didn't sleep that night. I stared at the ceiling, my hands on my belly, trying to make sense of how something that should have made me feel love turned into a reminder of how alone I really was. My husband tried to comfort me, but even he was shocked. "They threw your baby shower without you? Who does that?" My answer? People who never saw me as the center of anything, just the background. Growing up, Erin was always the golden child, the pretty one, the outgoing one, the one who knew how to make everyone laugh at family events. I was quieter, smarter maybe, but always the weird one, the one with hobbies no one understood, the one who never quite fit in. I thought maybe becoming a mom would change that maybe they'd see me differently, like I mattered, but clearly not enough to be invited to my own celebration. A few days later, a box of baby gifts showed up at my door. No note, no return address, just a pile of clothes, diapers, a rattle, and a pink stuffed elephant. I stared at it for a long time. Then I packed it all away, unopened. Because love that shows up after the betrayal isn't love. It's guilt. And I'm not accepting guilt wrapped in tissue paper. A week passed. No calls, no texts, just silence. The same kind I'd gotten for most of my pregnancy, only now it felt sharper, colder, and intentional. I didn't respond to the baby shower photos still circling around in family group chats. I didn't comment when my aunt posted, "Can't wait to meet baby Ava. Such a beautiful day, so much love in that room." And I sure as hell didn't reply when my cousin messaged, "Hey, sorry you couldn't make it." Couldn't make it? I wasn't invited. The audacity stung. But what hit harder was realizing this wasn't just a mistake or a poorly planned brunch. It was a pattern, a lifetime of being sidelined, minimized, made to feel like I was always a step behind in my own family. And now they were starting the same cycle with my daughter. One night, after another hour of scrolling through social media posts that felt like tiny betrayals, I lost it. I called my mom again. I don't know what I was hoping for. Maybe an apology, a crack in her voice, a glimpse of regret. But I didn't get any of that. "Mom," I said, "I need to understand. Why would you do something like that and not include me?" She sighed like I was the one exhausting her. "I told you, it wasn't about you. It was about the baby." I almost laughed. "How is throwing a party for my child not about me? We thought you'd make it dramatic. You've been emotional lately, and we just wanted something peaceful. So your solution was to pretend I didn't exist? Stop it. That's not fair." "No, what's not fair is seeing strangers celebrating a baby they haven't even met before, her own mothers included. What's not fair is being treated like an inconvenience in your own pregnancy." She went quiet for a second, then, in a voice like ice, "Maybe if you weren't so distant with the family, things would be different." That was it. I hung up. This time, for good. I wasn't going to beg to be part of my own life anymore. I wasn't going to explain my pain to people who were determined to twist it into overreaction. Instead, I started building something different. My daughter was due in 3 weeks, and I decided her world would look nothing like mine had. I called a few close friends, the ones who had reached out during the pregnancy, who asked how I was feeling, who sent check-in texts even when I forgot to reply. I told them the truth, and they were furious, supportive, protective. My best friend Emma said, "Let's throw our shower, you deserve it." I told her I didn't want a big party, so we didn't do that. Instead, we made it small, just 5 of 4 us. At my house with takeout and a cheap cake that said, "You've got this," in blue icing. We sat in my messy living room, surrounded by laundry and unopened boxes, and they each gave me one thing. Not gifts, but letters. Messages to future. Ava about who her mom is and how loved she already is. And for the first time since this whole mess started, I cried happy tears. My husband saw the difference in me immediately. "You seem lighter," he said that night as we sat on the couch. "I feel lighter," I told him. "Like I stopped waiting for people to change." "You think your mom's gonna come around?" "I don't care if she does, because I'm not raising Ava to believe she has to shrink herself to be accepted. Not by anyone." A few days later, I got a voicemail from Erin. Her voice was shaky. "Hey, I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I didn't think it would hurt you like this. I thought we were just keeping it casual, but now I realize we messed up. Mom's not going to say it, but I will. We were wrong." She paused. "I'd like to be there when the baby comes, if you'll let me." I didn't call her back. Not yet, because apologies don't rebuild trust overnight. But maybe it was a start. The morning of my daughter's birth didn't start with drama or chaos, just a slow, steady wave of pain at 3:47 a.m. that whispered, "It's time." My husband jumped out of bed like he'd been electrocuted. He fumbled for the hospital bag, tried to tie his shoelaces with trembling hands, and spilled an entire bottle of water on the hallway floor. But we laughed. For the first time in weeks, we laughed, because we were stepping into a moment that was ours, and no one could take it from me. The hospital was quiet, peaceful, the way I'd hoped. No frantic calls to my mom, no updates to family group chats, just my husband holding my hand, whispering encouragement, and the nurses who kept telling me how strong I was. At 11:22 a.m., Ava was born. She was perfect. Tiny, loud, pink-cheeked, and mine. Fully, finally mine. The first time I held her, the weight of everything that had come before melted into the background. All the betrayal, the tears, the empty apologies, none of it mattered in that moment, because Ava was here. I didn't tell anyone for 2 days, not even Aaron. I wanted those 48 hours to be just ours, me, my husband, and the little life we'd created without needing anyone's approval or presence. But eventually, reality crept in. A nurse mentioned the birth certificate paperwork. "Any grandparents to notify?" she asked gently. I hesitated, then said, "Not at the moment." Day 3. I finally picked up my phone. There were messages, dozens of them. From Aaron. "I heard you had the baby. Congratulations. Please let me know if you're okay. I want to see you." From my mom. "We saw Ava's name online. You could have called. I'm hurt, but I still want to be involved." Involved. That word again. It sounded like a legal term, like something you'd circle on a form. Not love, not care, not regret, just involvement. I didn't respond. Instead, I posted one photo. Ava swaddled in a mint green blanket. Eyes closed. Fingers curled around mine, no caption, just that. The internet did what it always does. Friends shared hearts, congratulations, and joy. My mom, of course, commented, "Beautiful. Can't wait to meet her." But she still hadn't called me. She'd commented on my daughter like she was a photo, not a person, like she was a memory she had the right to claim. I sat with that for a long time. 2 weeks later, Erin showed up, unannounced. At my door. I saw her through the peephole first. She was holding a stuffed giraffe and a grocery bag that looked like it held soup or some homemade apology. For a second, I almost didn't open it, but then Ava cried in the other room, and I realized maybe this wasn't about fixing everything. Maybe it was about letting Ava grow up in a world where people at least tried. I opened the door. Erin looked exhausted. Her eyes were red. "Hey," she said softly. "I brought soup, and I swear I'm not here to make anything worse." She didn't try to hug me, didn't try to come in uninvited, just stood there waiting. I nodded. "You can come in." The visit was awkward, quiet, but kind. She sat across the room. I let her hold Ava for a few minutes, but I didn't say much. She told me how sorry she was again. This time she didn't add excuses, and that made a difference, because maybe that's what real apologies are, not layered in justifications, not diluted with, "You know how Mom gets," or "I didn't think it was a big deal," just truth. She left after half an hour. I didn't promise to call. She didn't ask for forgiveness. We both understood things wouldn't snap back to the way they were, and maybe that was a good thing. One night, around 2 a.m., rocking Ava back to sleep in the dim nursery light, I whispered, "I promise. You'll never have to question if you belong," because I had spent too long begging for a seat at the table, a table that was supposed to be mine. Now I was building a new one, from scratch. And every chair at it would be earned, with love, respect, and effort. A few months later, Ava was growing fast, chubby cheeks, giggles that filled the apartment, a little fighter who kicked her legs like she was ready to run before she could crawl. She became my whole world, my reason for healing. But healing didn't mean forgetting. Every now and then I'd get messages from my mom. Short ones. Sometimes just a picture of a baby outfit or a vague "thinking of you both." She never pushed too hard, but she also never owned what she'd done. She wanted access, not accountability. Then came Ava's first family holiday, Thanksgiving. It was always a big deal in my family. Giant table, weird uncles, cranberry sauce no one touched. Growing up, I thought it was perfect. This year I wanted something small, peaceful, Just me, my husband, Ava, and maybe a few close friends who had become more like chosen family. But a week before the holiday, my mom called, not texted, called. I let it ring out the first time, then the second, the third. Finally, I picked up. "Hi," I said, voice flat. "Honey," she said, voice shaky. "I know I don't deserve it, but I wanted to ask, can we please see Ava? Even just for a little while?" I was silent. She kept going. "I miss you. I miss her. I miss us. We made so many mistakes. I know we did. I didn't fight for you the way I should have, but I want to try now." I didn't speak, because I didn't know if I believed her, or if I wanted to believe her. "I'm not ready," I finally said. "Okay," she whispered. "Then I'll wait, however long it takes." She hung up, and I cried harder than I had in weeks, not because I forgave her, not because I felt guilty, but because somewhere deep down I had still wanted that version of her to be real. Thanksgiving came and went. We roasted a small turkey. Ava wore a pumpkin onesie. Our tiny living room was filled with laughter and warmth. Not everyone was there, but the people who mattered were, and that was enough. In the months that followed, I started therapy. At first, it felt like digging through a swamp of memories I didn't want to touch. But slowly I began to understand. I wasn't just mourning a baby shower or a birthday party or even a missed phone call. I was mourning expectations, the family I thought I had, the version of love I believed I deserved. Ava turned 1. We threw a party in the park. Cupcakes, balloons, a photographer friend snapping candid moments. My husband gave a toast that made me tear up. "She's here because of you," he said, "and she's going to grow up knowing exactly what love looks like." Everyone clapped. Even the clouds seemed to part a little. I spotted Erin at the edge of the picnic blanket. She was holding a gift bag, hovering nervously. I nodded to her. She came over. She hugged me. Ava squealed, and in that moment I knew. Some people would come back changed. Others never would. Weeks later, I received a letter in the mail, handwritten, from my mom. It didn't try to explain the past. It didn't beg. It just said, "I don't expect you to forget or even forgive, but I do want you to know I've started therapy. I'm working on myself, and if one day Ava wants to know me, I want to be someone worth knowing." For the first time, it felt real. I didn't respond. Not yet. Because sometimes silence is not a punishment. It's a boundary. And boundaries are how I learned to keep the parts of myself no one else had ever protected. Ava will grow up knowing where she came from, but also knowing she doesn't have to carry every broken piece with her. She'll grow up knowing that her mother stood up, not for a party, not for attention, but for herself. And that's the story I'll always tell her, not about what we lost, but about how we rebuilt.